Right, I should be live now. I should be. Let's have a look. I actually got the app. Oh yeah, I am. Oh good. I was just checking my own channel actually, just to be sure. So welcome everyone. I'm just going to share. Hello, Helen Tucker. Oh, hello. Good topic. Oh, thank goodness someone thinks so. Hello, Crafty Nihilist. How are you? Both of you. Good to see you. So let's just put it on Facebook so everyone knows we're live. It's good to be back on the live stream again. I thought I've been meaning to get this one out of the way for a while. So I got delayed with other things as always. I think other things get in the way. Hello everyone. Great. That's on. Yep. Great. Brilliant. So a big hello to Jay Matthews. Hello Jay. How are you? Hope you're doing all right, mate. Jay's a good UFO. He's a UFO extraordinaire like me. And Steve-071. Greetings. Ian Batchelor. Hello. Welcome all of you. Welcome to this live stream. This is the third Magé UFO Brazil live stream that I've done. Hopefully it'll be the last, but you never know. Yeah, I'll just wait for the numbers. 19 people watching already. Hello, Al McCall. Greetings. Doesn't seem so long. In fact, the last video I did was a live stream, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh, wow. Hello, Denise. How are you? Denise Moore is there. Oh, I didn't put I did put a notice up on Facebook. Nothing as it seems. Hello. And David Schultz, greetings. I put a notice up on Facebook a little like yesterday, but I didn't put my usual, going live in half an hour notice, unfortunately, which I should have done. But hopefully enough people see that I'm live now and they'll be able to. I wonder if I could do. Hey. Crafty Nihilist, greetings. Hello. Hugo Rune, hello. How are you? Crafty Knight says, have I forgotten something, Crafty? I'm really sorry if I have. Is it your birthday? Is it which one is it? Is it Mark Nihilist or Liz Nihilist? I'm not sure which one. I've forgotten something, have I? But hello, Crafty, both of you. Better. All right. Whose is it? Who's is it? Is someone's birthday? Colin should be joining. Oh, Colin, brilliant. Thanks, Jay. If you get him in, I did put a notice on Facebook. Hello, Safety Man. Oh, I see. Mark is 50 years old. Oh, goodness me. 50 years. Oh, my goodness me. Well, congratulations, Mark. Many happies. Yeah, that's right. Safety Man, hello. Pat Riot. I'm not bad, thanks, Jay. Hope you are too. I'm just getting on as normal, working 3 hours a day. It's I don't know. It's like what's the word? It's kind of it's nice having the extra time, but I don't know. I've got less money, but to be honest, and what do I spend it on? Bottles of wine. I haven't actually got any this evening. No, I'm not. I've been buying groceries. Really, that's all. Really, and paying my bills. But I'm hoping to travel a little while. But well done. Yeah, I hope you, Mark, have a lovely day, and you and Liz both have a lovely day. You may not. I'm back to have. What I've been doing is I've actually got my mouse there now. I didn't say this in the last live stream, but I've got this hand has been painful. My wrist has been painful, and I actually had to put the mouse on. I had to rearrange my computer and everything to put the mouse on the left hand side. I've been trying to train my left hand to use the mouse. And typing, I found typing really difficult. Those of you who know me on Facebook will know I've been communicating using audio messages instead of typing out messages for you. And that's because I want to limit my typing as much as possible because of this. It's repetitive strain injury in my wrist, basically, on this wrist here. I've been overusing it. And yes, feel free to post unoriginal jokes now. Yeah, but ET's there. Hello. Yeah, I put the mouse there because I need to be. I'm training my left hand to do these things, but when I'm doing a live stream, I need to be able to move quickly, and so I'm using my major hand. I'm right-handed. ET, hi Ben. I hope you're well. Does anyone know what's happening in the North Sea today? RAF jets patrolling, and seems oil rigs being evacuated. I haven't heard of that, ET, but probably something for a new live stream, I'm sure. But Jay, I'm sorry you're still off work, mate. I mean, it's amazing how many bloody, how many people, you know, but they contact me and it's incredible. I mean, these are the same people who moan about their jobs and having to go to work and saying, oh, I wish I could win the lottery, etc. I wouldn't have to work. A lot of those people miss their jobs now. A lot of people really miss it and they can't wait to get back. They really can't. It's work. We have kind of love-hate relationship, don't we, with work? Hello, Pauline. So sorry I can't watch live. Oh, you're cooking dinner. All right. Looking forward to watching tomorrow. Look after yourself. You too, Pauline. The recording will be available on my channel as usual, so you can watch anytime you like. Hello, Michael. Crafty Night says, get a jelly ergonomic mouse. They're brilliant. Maybe I'll try that, Crafty. Yeah, because this is just like a normal. It's an Amazon Basic one. I don't know if it will stretch so you can see it. It's an Amazon Basic mouse. But I do need to do something about my overused wrist. I think it is literally basically because of all this sort of thing. Crafty says, job interview tomorrow. Liz, not Mark. Hey, good luck with it. Is it online or is it live? How are you doing it? Is it because I mean a lot of things are just online now, aren't they? But good luck with that, Liz. All right, 25 people watching. That's pretty good. I wonder. Let's just see if how many views has got on Facebook. Come on, guys. Yeah. Maybe I should share it on. Should I share it on the? I'm going to share it on the Awakening group. I hope Carol doesn't. I'm going to share it on Carol Noonan's group. No, I'll wait until the recording's done. I'll just tag her here. Hang on, she can share it if she wants. There we are. There we are, Carol. She could share it if she wants on her group. Hey guys, over the phone. Oh, blimey, Crafty. So Thantiops, it's the slurping custom. I'm using this mic. That's the thing. All right, I'll try and put the mic up maybe if it really bothers you that much. I know I've got someone on BitChute he's actually timed every bloody slurp I make. Oh. Colin, hello. Colin says, hi, Ben. Only just realised I can only view chat room on the desktop mode on my Apple iPad. Oh, dearie me. With people who have to go away from these desktops, honestly. I've always used my desktop anyway. I should never try doing a live stream on my phone. Maybe I should. Yeah, it's Crafty. You can wear your PJs at least from the waist down, like Jonathan Pye. You can have like a nice blouse and things on top, you know, and do your makeup and hair. And at the bottom is pajama bottoms and slippers. Nothing says I'm on a much needed vacation. I'm designated as essential. Right. Stillskin, hello. Splendid Isolation is there. Hello. Thanks, Jay. Thanks for sharing, mate. Much appreciated. Okay, guys, I'm going to get started. We've been going 8 minutes now, and I've got 31 viewers. I think that's pretty good. So let's get started on the subject. I'll do my lead off, obviously, as always. As always, during this time, if you want to address me with comments, I won't be able to answer them. Feel free to talk to each other, but what I'll do at the end is I'll simply go scroll back to the top, and I will get rid of any trolls that have appeared, which they do occasionally still. And then I'll start interacting with you. The problem is if I go back and answer every single comment, this live stream will last probably till 3 a.m. And I can't do that, unfortunately. And we did break the 3-hour barrier last time, and we may do it again because this is there's probably a lot to talk about. But there's been some major updates on the Magé UFO event since the last live stream I did on this, which was a couple of weeks ago, actually. It was back in on the 17th of May. I did the second Magé UFO OVNI crash live stream 2. I did that one. Now this is the third in that series. Maybe the last. I think it'll probably be the last. I don't know, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, Steve, I'm going to go through the comments posted on the live stream notice. All right, Benny, says Steve 071. Hello, Steve. I've already said hello to you in the chat box. I know you're there too, so thanks for joining us. Rob Dickerson says, it was most probably a secret craft owned by a Brazilian organization. Several countries have had this capability for much longer than most of us think, maybe 100 years plus. Just my thoughts on this, Ben. I'm probably wrong, though. Well, Steve, Rob, as the secret capability of aircrafts, I agree, and they do go back a long way, probably longer than most people think. A century, that's a long time, but who knows if they were like if they were classifying Tesla and George Pigott and people like that in the late 19th century. Who knows? And there were crash retrievals of UFOs. Black Forest in Germany, which I think 1880 something. There was the Aurora, Texas crash retrieval, 1897. Oh, this goes back a long way before Roswell. So who knows? We have here Andra, who says, "Want to be friends?" Sure, Andra, no problem. So that's on the show notice. I think I'll leave the notice videos up until the end of this live stream, just to in case people see them and join us. So a lot has happened. There's been lots of reports. For example, first of all, if you want to know what if I say something you don't know what I'm talking about, watch the other two live streams, because I'll go back. But anyway, the Imbel factory, that's the Star Factory as it's called, in Palo Grande. It turns out that the detonations of ordnance in the grounds of the factory are actually a tradition that's done every year. I found that out. So there's nothing unusual about the fact that there was those explosions that were heard and the smoke rising from the trees at Palo Grande, at the facility, the Star Factory. It's a factory that's been there since 1808, so it's very old. It is the 212th anniversary, and they do every year carry out a detonation of ordnance as part of tradition. It's a state-owned company, Imbel, and the government actually they own the company, and they organise this. It's a Brazilian tradition. Now, you may have seen the report by A.J. Javard, the great Brazilian ufologist. He is a ufologist. He's been running a magazine. He's been editing a magazine called UFO Brazil magazine since 1985. Goes back a long way. It's even older than Nexus. And it's been covering this in detail, and I'll come on to his report. But you may have seen his English language video. He did a little 10-minute English language video about this whole event, probably because interest in the Magé case had spread beyond Brazil, because all the original stuff was in Brazil. And of course, he covered this in detail in his own language, in the Brazilian language, which is Portuguese. And there was numerous videos of those, which I did watch. I watched one of them with the captions on, but unfortunately, YouTube captions are not terribly good. I can tell, because at certain points it started dissolving into gibberish, and you knew that the captioning system, the Portuguese software, was not actually relating correctly what was saying. The same goes for the Romulo PQD channel, which I'll talk more about later, which I talked about on the last video. But you get a little bit of a sense of what's happening with Romulo and stuff like that. It shows there's a lot of public interest in this event. I mean, this is like the lockdown UFO effect, which some people have talked about, in which interest in UFOs seems to have risen since the start of the coronavirus quarantine. That's a good sign. I mean, regardless of the cause of this particular scandal, it's like the Storm Area 51 thing, which you remember my Storm Area 51 video. I think videos. I think I did several. There is a public interest in the subject, which is pretty good. But anyway, just to give you a bit of background, it all started off on the 13th of May, where this was a Tuesday night. Lots of UFO videos seen over the Magé area and the nearby city of Rio de Janeiro. Wednesday morning, you got the explosions at the Imbel plant, plus this strange video that appeared, showing this, what's been described as, like, it looks like a metal plate, actually, which, well, maybe what it is, embedded in the ground, and you hear this woman talking, and apparently I've actually had that that has actually been translated. Someone on Twitter has been good enough to translate it for me. Let's just see if I can. I didn't put it in my notes. I'll go and get it now. Let me just get it now. Where is it? Have I got it? Here we are. Yeah. You remember this 12-second video where you hear a woman's voice talking in a very excited voice. There's in front of her, there's this circular or spherical shaped object. Something, it looks like a faceted disc or a sphere. On the other hand, it could be a metal plate. I don't think it's a saucepan lid because it's got no handle, but it could be anything really. But it's only 12 seconds long, and you hear her speaking. I didn't know what she was saying, but apparently this is what she says. Guys, here it is, the UFO. It's really big. There are lots of objects. Guys, it's really big. This is not a lie. It's not a lie, guys. That's what she says. Now, but really, that still remains completely anonymous. That video has never been traced. No one has ever found out who made it or where it came from. It just appeared on Twitter. And of course, we have this big problem. The first big problem, which I talked about on the previous video, was the language problem. We have Google Translate, and for written work, that's not bad. I mean, I've been using Google Translate to speak to people in the comments boxes on the various Portuguese-speaking Portuguese language channels, such as AJ's channel and a lot of the others. And it's, I mean, I don't, only a Portuguese-speaking person could tell me how good it is, but I've been able to understand what other people are saying and also reply to them, just running things through Google Translate. It seems a bit dishonest. I don't speak a single word of Portuguese, but when it comes to audio, it's more tricky, and a lot of the actual on-the-ground research has been done by people using YouTube videos and things like that. The local ufologists, who I must say they've done a damn good job considering this. The people, as AJ says, these people have been his eyes on the ground. He doesn't live anywhere near the area. He can't get there. No one can get there. The local people, luckily there's this city of Rio de Janeiro, and there's a UFO groups there. They've been doing this work, a lot of work. A lot of their stuff's video related, and as I said, it's not easy to translate video. That's been a problem. And another problem, of course, is the jokes, the nonsense, and the memes, bro. And I talked about this last week. You've got to really dig down through some crap to get to the real stuff. Because when something, and it's not through any malice on the part of people. It's for them. It's just an internet game. It's just something to be excited about. They can make jokes about it. They can troll. They can meme. They can do all these things. It's just banter. But it causes a terrible signal-to-noise ratio problem. Funny enough, like in the past, and not in the distant past either, the job of a researcher into anything strange, whether it's UFOs, Loch Ness Monster, ghosts, etc., there was you had to rely on phone calls, letters, things like that. There was a distinct absence of information. The absence of information was a major problem. And you had to go and find that information. Today's problem is primarily an abundance of information, an overabundance of information. We're essentially in a position where we're trying to drink out of a fire hose. And rather than searching for the really important material, we need instead to filter this massive onslaught of data to find the stuff that's real, which is kind of like buried under this mound of nonsense, of idiocy. And a lot of it is not maliciously done. Some of it is disinformation, but really active disinformation is hardly ever needed these days because of the culture surrounding it, because the culture that technology has brought it onto us. And that's a shame. I mean, it's funny, there's like this is the past. This ability to flash information around the world in a nanosecond in massive amounts has been useful. It has been useful in some ways. If it wasn't for this, we wouldn't even know. If it wasn't for the internet, we wouldn't even know this had happened. If the lockdown had happened 40 years ago, everyone, it'd be like being on a desert island. But so this technology to distribute information has come about at the same time as the ability to create false information on huge amounts for the purposes of deceit, but usually just for humor and entertainment. So that's something of a burden. It's become something of a burden. And the lockdowns made it worse. That's the thing. But anyway, several things happened. There was also a report that one of the employees at the Star Factory had died. He'd been killed. Apparently, he died on duty there. We don't know what it was. Probably coronavirus. It usually is these days, isn't it? But then some new information has emerged here. and it's from Linda Moulton Howe, who I mentioned previously, who'd been talking about this. She's published a vast amount now. She's done an entire program about it a couple of weeks ago. Now she's written 2 articles. And the first one apparently is eyewitnesses say military helicopters chased a red UFO early in the morning of May the 12th, 2020. Now that is actually the Monday. That's the day before a lot of the videos are dated. Now, this is what's happened here is that she's got in touch with a guy called Trajano Paiva. Now, he's somebody that I think he's vaguely well known. He goes to conferences and things like that. He's quite a legend in the Brazilian film industry, apparently, making documentaries about the Amazon and things like that. But he sent a video which supposedly is a intercepted radio conversation between several military units in the area about the recovery of a crashed UFO. Now, Linda immediately got in touch with the translator that he recommended, someone called Lissa Bick, and she basically had this entire transcript translated. So this basically went on. The idea was that there's a lot of confusion here, because they talk about the Embel factory. That is the factory of stars, which is at Pau Grande. If you look at it up on the map, you can see this. And then they said that, where are we? 5 eyewitnesses described seeing first 2, then 4 military helicopters chasing a glowing red UFO at the Embel facility in Pau Grande, which is just to the west, slightly to the northwest of the Magé city, within the Magé county, this municipality, and which is then it travelled northeast towards Guapimirim, where apparently it hit a power line and ended up crashing in this mountain range. Resident eyewitnesses living near the Imbel plant saw a red UFO being chased by helicopters. It crashed, and then they heard it. They apparently saw it crash. Now, but the location where it crashed, I'll talk about it in a minute. Where it allegedly crashed is quite remote, so I don't know how that worked out. But anyway, this hacked military radio communication was created on the 12th of May 2020 at 3 a.m. So it's the night before the night when a lot of these videos were supposedly made. So physical location estimates the crash site ranging from 20 to 40 miles northeast of Rio de Janeiro, near Guapimirim. That's a strange word to say. But the thing about it is, though, they pinpointed it apparently very, very precisely to a place. But it just says, this is what was actually said. Someone says, bases 1, 2, 3, and 4, number 4, confirm arrival at station. Alcantara base confirms damage to the object with an American shot. Now, this is strange, because the Alcantara refers to a space launch facility, which is run by the Brazilian Space Agency in the city of Alcantara, which is on the northern Atlantic coast in the state of Maranhão, I think I should pronounce that, and it's operated by the Brazilian Space Agency and the Brazilian Air Force. It's a long way from Magé. It's a long, long way if you look at it on the map. Brazil's a huge country. As I said, it consists of almost half the entire continent of South America. What's interesting is that since last year, it's been partly run by the United States, supposedly for scientific research on the launch of rockets, spaceships, and satellites that use North American technologies from the Brazilian base. So basically that means NASA and people like that are using it. But someone in this radio then says, confirm if it was shot down. Another person says, confirm position. Go to the location. You will need 3 or 4 teams. There is too much material to collect. You have to take the small road. Now, if you look on the map, I don't know exactly what they refer to when they say small road. I'll tell you more about the road in a minute, because there is a road nearby. 731. Did you copy base 2? 732. By the small road, it's not possible to descend. Did you copy base 3? It doesn't have human appearance. Did you copy? There are only these. There are no more. The others were in such a state that we can only take the ones that are here. They are talking about clothes. Go with protection and nobody's going to touch these things. Protection, I presume, means PPE, as it's called nowadays, which is 3 letters that everyone's familiar with. These bodies are not humans. Over. We can't touch these things. No way. Confirm if the equipment was taken down. Capture the equipment. Shot down drone also to be taken to the base. I don't know if the word drone refers to an actual drone or to the craft. I'm not sure. The truck is going down by the small road. Over. Go. Taking it slowly till the factory, and there we will see what to do. I don't know which factory they mean. The Star Factory is many miles away from where this location supposedly happened. It has to be taken with camouflage. Now, what does that mean, taken with camouflage? I assume that means it has to be transported, maybe disguised or covered up. Maybe something like the Kecksburg crash. It was the Kecksburg object was taken away. Many hundreds of people saw the object, but it was underneath a tarpaulin. Everything is smashed, damaged. There is no way we can put it there. There are more bodies inside. I've never seen such a thing. These things are not people. Do not approach without the proper clothes. Wait until it arrives. Retrieve cell phones from the guards. Do you copy? Do not allow anyone to record anything. Do you copy? The American Corps from Alcantara is going to the base position and will retrieve the objects. It is to operate within the Aguia protocol. Now, Aguia means eagle, apparently. Now, the eagle protocol, which I don't know what it refers to, but the eagle, the bird, is often associated with the United States of America. Now, then we have apparently Arthur Nito, who's a friend of Trajano's, this other guy Trajano's, who goes to the Imbel neighborhood. Now, the Imbel neighborhood is in Palo Grande, but it says here the alleged UFO crash site, according to residents, was near the Soberbo River. Now, this is way north if you look on the map, near the town of Guapimrim. But so what happened was this guy Arthur went to the Imbel neighborhood and talked with about 30 people. 5 of them had seen helicopters chasing the red UFO and heard a loud sound they thought was the crash of the UFO to the east of Imbel near the Soberbo River. The thing is, the Imbel facility southwest, quite a long distance from the actual Soberbo River location where this thing supposedly crashed, which means there may be some confusion here. Now, I did actually see some videos of people, ufologists in Palo Grande, talking to local residents. You can see them. They're still up on YouTube. All the dialogue is in Portuguese, and using this YouTube caption systems was not very good, as I explained. I think I got a certain amount of ideas, and some people reported helicopters. I didn't hear anything about what's described here, though, although I may have misunderstood because the captions weren't very good. But I know that several people like AJ and other people who, of course, do speak Portuguese have investigated this evidence, and they say that this story isn't real. I'll say more detail about what AJ says in a minute. Where are we now? Then this happened, right? On the 7th of June, Linda Moulton Howe published this. It's about an alleged Brazilian army military source, a letter about a crash retrieval. Tall humanoid entities recovered near Magé, Brazil. Oh, my goodness me. Yes, curiouser and curiouser. Now, this letter that she received is very interesting. It says... hello, I'm a military at the armed forces. I think that's a tautology. This is translated. I will bring updated information so that the entire Brazilian population can learn about the inexplicable events that occurred in the region, and that all residents can have access to the truth of the facts that happened in the municipality of Magé in Rio de Janeiro. Okay, I won't read this entire letter. You can get it on the Earth Files website. But there's some curious things about this. For example, he says this: when the US military arrived at the place where the object had fallen, they verified that there were 3 intruders in the damaged ship. Then at around 7 p.m., the US military, armed with advanced technological devices unknown to the Brazilian military, intercepted and killed a being with humanoid characteristics of approximately 6.6 feet tall. All right, so this is and then he describes the location I'm going to talk about. What's interesting is they say 7 p.m. Now, the militaries around the world tend to use the 24-hour clock. They didn't say 1900 hours. Now, this is odd because you do find that they tend to use the 24-hour clock. And indeed, the hospitals, I got used to the 24-hour clock because the hospitals use it as well. So I myself have got used to hearing times given to me in the 24-hour clock. Strange. I mean, that could be that they transcribed it to the normal 12-hour clock. I don't know, but I don't know. This doesn't sound right. But anyway, I'll go through the details of what this person describes. First of all, persistent UFO activity, 21st of April 2020. This goes back the previous month. The United States Department of Defense, following international protocols determined by NATO, advised the Brazilian Ministry of Defense and the Brazilian Joint Chiefs of Staff of the Armed Forces, EMCFA, to intensify military air patrolling in the Rio de Janeiro region due to an increase in the activities of the phenomenon in that region, presumably UFOs. The Chief of the Joint General Staff of the Armed Forces is the professional head of the Brazilian Armed Forces, who's responsible for the central coordination and control of the 3 Brazilian military branches. What you'll find is that in Brazil, the armed forces, the police, and some of the emergency services are organizationally connected. I've noticed. I learned that with the Magé incident. There was a request for intensified military air patrolling in Rio de Janeiro. That's the actual state of Rio de Janeiro, not just the city. With the support of the Brazilian Air Force Base at Santa Cruz and the Navy Air Base San Pedro de Aldeira, the base is located 34 miles from Rio de Janeiro city. Brazilian Air Force, okay, it goes on for a bit more details here. On the 1st of May 2020, the radars of the 1st Integrated Air Traffic Control and Air Defense Center detected strong activity from unknown aerial phenomenon in Rio de Janeiro state. This is May the 1st, so we're going back 2 weeks before all this kicked off. On May the 12th, that's the day before that is actually the Monday, but that was actually the Monday before we had this massive video onslaught on Twitter. This Twitter storm of some of the videos were fake. I mean, this is the problem. It's really bad that video evidence just doesn't carry the same weight that it used to. Videos and photos are just too easy to fake. Oh, it's absolutely it's quite disturbing in that case. It really is. Anyway, they say Brazilian Airspace Control Detachment detects an increase in inexplicable activities in a very intense way in the region. Petrópolis is a city in the Fluminense mountain region north of Rio de Janeiro. That's not the same as the Ogawas. I'll talk more about the different mountains in a minute, but the road to Magé from Petrópolis is not straight. It's only about 30 miles. That means UFO activity was in the same general area as Magé. So that's true, actually. If you look at the location for Petrópolis, there's several places. That's to the west of Guampirim, where this is all supposed to have happened. Let me just try and find out. Oh, I've lost my place now. Where was it? Here we are. Okay. I'm just going to hang on. I'm just going to mark this location on the maps in case I have to get back there. I'll just mark it with a measure distance. The measure distance thing has been quite interesting and quite necessary, actually. So Petrópolis is to the west, and then there's Guampirim to the east of that, which is just north of the town of Magé. Now, Pau Grande is south of Petrópolis. This is all in a box around about 10 miles square. It's like a square box on the map. Hope everyone's all right. There we go. Where was I? Okay. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The U.S. military reported a UFO has fallen in a forest in the municipality of Magé, Rio de Janeiro. Now, this is 8 p.m. on May the 12th. That's the evening. Again, this is the evening before all the trouble. This is like at least 24 hours before those videos started appearing on Twitter. The US military reported to the Brazilian government that a UFO had fallen, quote unquote, in a forest area of the municipality of Magé. The word fallen could mean shot down or crashed. Now, this is all in this letter. This is all based on this letter that this anonymous person sent Linda. But I placed the time and date because it does not match the original rumors allegedly coming from the alleged Magé resident eyewitnesses, correct, such as Trajano Paiva and Arthur Nito. Should I do Linda Moulton Howe's voice? I won't. No. The first eyewitnesses told Arthur Nito that the first 204 military. No, I'm not going to do Linda Moulton Howe's voice. I'll just read normally, and I'll just tell you when I'm inserting my commentary. But they were chasing a red glowing UFO in the skies at 1 to 3 a.m. on May the 12th. Right, so that is actually, well, that will be, yeah. So those guys report that it was actually the night before, the early hours of the night before. The US military report 8 p.m. So that's the evening after. So there's a bit of a time discrepancy there. But she says here, were more than one encounters between American and Brazilian military, one or more UFOs. And apparently, this is interesting, US General John Raymond. Now, of course, he's quite famous now, isn't he? Because he's head of the American Space Command, head of the first ever commander-in-chief of the US Space Force, apparently deployed 20 special forces to the UFO crash site. He deployed 20 American Special Forces soldiers to that region. This would have been from the Alcantara space facility, I presume. 10 being from the US Space Force. So that's interesting that they already have like a special forces unit set up for the US Space Force. And 10 from the Space Aggressor 26 Squadron, commanded by Captain Barnes. Now, that sounds interesting, doesn't it? The Space Aggressor 26 Squadron sounds quite sci-fi, but it does exist. I've looked it up. It's actually part of the US Air Force. It dates way back to 1915 in the World War I era. So that's quite interesting. So there's these two separate units were put into a detachment, and this was sent apparently to this location. In the early hours of the 13th of May, now we're moving forward again. The US military disembarked at a Brazilian military air base and traveled to the military base in Rio de Janeiro. Operation was baptized with the code name Organ Range. Oh, right. There's a lot of details here. Now, Organ Range refers to the Serra dos Orgaus, and I must apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. But it actually means the Organ Piper Mountain Range, because they look like that. Apparently, these mountains look like that. And apparently, if you go to the map and go to Earth, the location where this happened it's a beautiful location. Actually, it's high mountains with forests and things. It reminds me of the south of France. It's very nice. This is a national park. And then this report came out in the Serra dos Orgaus National Park. Tall humanoid beings. One was killed, 2 were wounded and captured around 7 p.m. on May the 12th, 2020. Oh my goodness me! These are the beings that were 6 foot 6 inches tall. When the US military arrived at the place where the object had fallen and verified that there were 3 intruders in the damaged ship, then at around 7 p.m., the US military, armed with advanced technological devices unknown to the Brazilian military, intercepted and killed a being with humanoid characteristics approximately 6.6 feet tall in the municipality of Guapirim in RJ, near the Soberbo River. And it gives the exact coordinates of where this happened. Now, you go to the map, you can actually find the exact spot where it happened. It is on the Soberbo River. Now, the Soberbo River is actually just like a mountain stream, really. It's, and I know because there's actually a big road nearby. This is the Rio de Janeiro Teresópolis main road. And if you go to the if you go to the street view, you can see there's a bridge that crosses over this river, and the river is not really very visible. It's surrounded by trees, and it is really just it's like a rocky stream, typical of mountains. It's probably not navigable. You couldn't get a boat up there. But what's interesting is the location is 3,000, just over 3,000 feet from the spot where this UFO crashed. This is the kicker. This is the important point. It's barely over half a mile up the river. There's no real way you can access it. I mean, they talk about a truck taking a small road to the location. There are no roads like that. This area is not approachable by any road. There may be some kind of footpath that goes along the side of the stream. I don't know. But the nearest road is half a mile away. It's this big Rio Terrasopolis road. It's Route 116. It's actually, how big is it? It's not a dual carriageway, I don't think, but it's still it's obviously a big road. It's got it's a concrete road, and it's obviously quite busy, and there's no reports of it being closed. None. That doesn't fit. If this story is true, why was that road not shut? There've been no reports anywhere of that being closed. I mean, you would, if there had been reports of it being closed, I'd be more suspicious, because you would need to close that road. You need to close the entire stretch of it, because it's actually despite the fact it's a big road, it goes through a remote area for several miles between the southern outskirts of Terrasopolis and the town. What's this town called? Oh, Guapirim. Yeah, Guapirim. There's a little town here called Villa Guapi, and then you get into like the various suburbs of Rio de Janeiro, such as Magé and Pau Grande and Petropolis, etc. So this road would have had to be shut probably along most of its length. So we're talking like it's very twisty. It goes through the mountains. We're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About 6 miles of this road would all have to be closed in order to. If you're moving this thing out by road, by air, supposing all right, you could land a helicopter or something on the road itself. There's no other place where I can see any kind of aircraft landing. I honestly don't. Unless some kind of helicopter you could land on the road, possibly somewhere along its stretches. But if you wanted to move it out by, they're talking about using camouflage, which means presumably they got a plan to shift it out by lorry, just put it on the back of a lorry and take it to the military base, like they did with the Kecksburg crash. You would need certainly this entire length of road closed, and there's no reports of that. Now, this road being closed would have caused news stories, even if they made up some excuse for it, like, oh dear, we had a big lorry crash halfway along it, and the lorry was carrying toxic chemicals or flammable fuel or something, so we had to close all the road for a few hours. We're going to clean it up and reopen it. If that had happened, I'd probably find this case more interesting. I really would, but there's no reports of that, so it doesn't quite make sense at all. In fact, it doesn't make sense at all what we're saying here. Anyway, Linda goes on here after this particular discussion. She actually says that EB, this person that she references, the writer of this letter, this may be fictional or not. She says, I hope that EB or other knowledgeable whistleblowers can add more factual details and updates to this letter, or if some or all of the events in the letter did occur. What size or type of the craft crashed? What are the physical details about the humanoids, these tall humanoids? Why was one killed? Where were the 2 wounded that were captured and taken to the United States with all the displacement devices according to the letter? What are the displacement devices? What is the nature of the advanced technological devices that intercepted and killed the humanoids? All requests for anonymity are honored. So, I mean, Linda, that's the end of Linda's article. Now, Linda Moulton Howe's taken a lot of stick over the years just for publishing stuff like this. She has taken a lot of criticism, most of which I think is unfair. I know that she's willing to publish this stuff. Well, you know, in the same way I'm willing to talk about it. But on no point does she declare that this is definitely real. And she ends the article with a request for further information, which for me is a proper way for a researcher to approach this. So I keep hearing a lot of people talking down about her. I mean, there's certain individuals claim, oh, she's compromised. She's compromised because she said that humans didn't get the mutilations and things like that. Oh, well, you know who I'm talking about. Everyone's a shill except me and Andrew Johnson, you know. But the other people have been quite unpleasant to her as well. You know, get off her case. She's handled this properly, I think. She's published the letter and the information, and she's asked for more information. But now we'll come on to we go to the actual native researchers here. This is an author called Laura Maria Elias. Now, she actually is one of the team on AJ Javad's magazine, UFO Brazil magazine. As I said, this is one of the oldest UFO magazines there are. I mean, the story is quite interesting because AJ was like, he started this like years ago, like when he was like about 20, and he had a family already at the age of 20. He had some kids, and he was married, and he was working, and he was quite poor, but he took it he took it upon himself to start this magazine, and it's been running to this day. Amazing. That's incredible. I mean, Nexus started in '87, I think. So this is actually 2 years older than Nexus. That's quite an achievement, you know, quite an achievement. I met AJ once. He was at the UFO Truth magazine conference. But he says here, this is Laura Maria Elias. As everyone knows, and not just in Brazil, a wave of rumors with no definite origin spread through social media, claiming that a UFO would have fallen in Magé, a city in the lowlands of Rio de Janeiro. This is basically me running the article through Google Translate. This is the article that was published online on their website. And she says here, what actually happened? It's always difficult to detect the origin of a rumor as much as we try to go back to reach the first person who spread it. In times of social networks, pandemic, and quarantine, this becomes practically impossible. And that's true. There is... The lockdown has had a huge effect on this by isolating people, meaning that I don't want to sound like an Anglo-centric here, and I don't want to denigrate the work done by local researchers, but you know, the fact that an English-speaking ufologist could not travel to the area and report back has been a burden. It has been an obstacle, I must admit. But anyway, this person then goes talking about it all apparently began with an audio, and then there was the saucepan lid, apparently, or the plate video that I referred to, which was posted on Twitter. The object had fallen in next to a lake, and the object was shaped like a pot lid buried in the ground next to the Imbel facility. Well, that's the Imbel facility, like I said, is nowhere near the Suburbo River. So which one's true, or are both of them false? The same girl added that her father to the post about an exceptional helicopter movement over the city. All right. I've seen several videos of military aircraft over the Magé region. I don't know if it's normal or not. Again, you'd have to probably be there for a long time to know what's normal air activity and what's not. I mean, anyone who lives near an airport can take photos of aircraft and say, look, we've had a lot of planes flying over us today. The original story happened in the early hours of Monday, May the 12th, and the recording was made and sent to a city councillor in Magé called Sergeant Lopez. And it turns out that there's an update on that, right? Because do you remember in the last video I referred to the paragliding guy, the guy with the motorbike who went to the place where the little white UFO appears on Google Earth? I used that image actually as the illustration for the notice for this live stream. That's the guy with the motorbike who took his motorbike to that location and saw that everything was normal there. That's Romulo PQD. That's the YouTuber who he did the paragliding video as well that I talked about. Now he's actually been very useful. He's and I don't think he's a ufologist as such. His other videos on his channel, there's a few about UFOs, but not many. But he's really investigated this, and he lives in the locality, and so he's been invaluable actually. But he also got in touch with this Sergeant Lopez, who apparently is a city councillor. It turns out he didn't exist, or his identity had been cloned into this person who was reported in this story. So why? That's odd. It's odd. They made up a fictional character essentially and gave him this name, Sergeant Lopez. That's a bit tricky, isn't it? Anyway, now apparently the author here refers to the nighttime shots of the sky where you see there's lots of them. There's some interesting ones which show blue lights, but there's another one which is not so convincing because it looks fake, and it shows a cluster of about 50 lights in formation, slowly rotating above a city street. It's filmed from a car in a busy city street, and you see these rotating lights above the road. Now, I think that's fake, and it's a shame really, because UFO videos tend to fall into two camps. There's the really bad quality ones. Someone gives you a really good report, and they say, "I've got the film of it here," and you see like this light bouncing around a black screen like that, like a firefly. And there it is. Can you see it? My goodness me, it's like it's just above my head and things like that. The person's hand is shaking because they're so excited, and you get like a really, really bad recording. And so people look at that and says that could be anything. It could be a firefly. On the other hand, you get like the Independence Day style, really, really intricate design spaceships zooming, going bzzz, right over someone's head, and you look up and you can like see windows with aliens' faces in them, and people say that's too good to be true. That could be fake. And unfortunately, both points of view are justified, which is what I mean when I say photographic evidence just is not what it used to be. And I feel sorry for the people who produce genuine material, because they're the ultimate little boy who cried wolf, because there's so much fake crap out there. It's really a big problem, isn't it? Anyway, there was an explosion apparently of some transformers. Some electric transformers actually blew up, and these things do happen. It happened in New York last year. I reported on it in my UFO disclosure videos, because some people said that was some kind of UFO event. Anyway, this apparently was near the Inbel facility, the Star Factory in Palo Grande. So it could be some kind, and that unfortunately was some kind of coincidence, according to this author, that these lights in the sky appeared, and then this explosion happened. One of the ground shots shows the explosion, and then the next day there was the factory's anniversary celebrations, which involved the detonation of some of their products in the grounds. And then they referred to somebody called Mauricio Jr. He went to the place where Inbel is the following night and made a video. Right, yeah, I think I saw that video. It was a guy on a motorbike. What's more, there were some sky watchers there, though, actually, that night. There was a large cluster of people in Palo Grande who basically went along to Skywatch. Now that indicates that there was a story going around of something real happening. This person interviewed several of in Portuguese, and again, badly translated Portuguese. I watched the video, and they were interviewing lots of people. But then they refer again to Romulo Rocha, his name is apparently. Romulo PQD on YouTube. This is the guy with the paraglider. Now, I referred to that last time. He took his paragliding flight over the Inbel factory, and everything looked normal. Yeah, so now then they start talking about the Starlink satellites, the ISS, things like that. Now, and also there was this thing called the Chinese Long March 5B rocket. Now, Steve Mumbling brings this up. Oh, yes, he does. Now, it's true that these Starlink satellites, rather like the Chinese lantern phenomenon, for a while have produced fake, false UFO sightings. They've been reported as unidentified, and they have been identified as the Starlink satellites. So it was like when Chinese lanterns kicked off. Do you remember the Chinese lanterns craze? The UFO reports massively increased. In fact, I sent one in as well to Bufora because of this. I saw them myself and reported them. And then you realize what they are. Interesting that. So then you realize what they are, and people eventually get used to them, and after a while, there's no further trouble. There's no further people. Then people just see them and identify them, and then the craze, the fake UFO, or not fake, but mistaken UFO, reports then goes away. And it's and the actual what I see in a lot of these videos from the Governor's Island region and from the other places, they don't look like the Starlink satellites. They don't. This author goes on. The information is important because we received a report from a person who asked us to remain anonymous, saying that because he was a friend of an Imbel commander, he had managed to enter the factory and saw a few hundred meters from the warehouse inside a forest a spherical and metallic object 3.5 meters in diameter. According to this alleged witness, there were no broken trees or damage to the forest, and it seemed that the object had not fallen but landed there, breaking only 1 or 2 trees. He added that there were many soldiers there, and they were guarding the object, but that in the city, no one had seen military movement. Yeah, the fact there's no reports of any roads closed. There's no reports of unusual military activity on the ground anywhere, and you wouldn't if this was the crash retrieval. You would see an awful lot, like you did with Roswell, like you did with Nottingham, things like that. Yeah. We contacted the company's management, that's the Star Factory in Belt, spoke to Colonel Assis, who explained about the factory's anniversary celebrations. Yeah, and of course, because it is a munitions factory, there's very tight security there. So maybe that's it. A new video has emerged showing 2 broken trees in an open space in the forest, circulating on the net. From what we can see, there's nothing exceptional in it, but everyone took as an unreasonable proportion. It's worth investigating that too. Now, yeah, I talked about that last time. You see a picture of some trees broken in the woods, but there's no real. There's no real. You don't know where it is or what caused those broken trees, or even if it was taken at recently. It's rather like, I mean, in the Kecksburg crash, I mean, I know that someone went back to the site of the Kecksburg crash. There's a documentary about it. It's very good. And you see the tree where the trees are still broken. It's still visible all these years later. It was 1965 this happened. And it's a kind of like just everything looks normal. Now, Romulo PQD, it says here, is going to go back there. Now, he may have actually put the video up on his channel. I'll have to check. But he's going to go there and have a look around. I'm not actually going to... I don't think I'll go and look at his video. But unless he sees something very exceptional, I'm not going to make another video about it. And apparently then we hear about the death of an Imbel employee, a victim of an accident with explosives at the Magé Star Factory. Okay, that's very sad. But the death has nothing to do with rumors circulating about UFOs. So that's the situation now. I'm just going to go back and get rid of the trolls. Okay, guys. Now just to check these things. Hello, Stills. Hello, Fenlander. Hello, Neil. Neil is there. Neil Geddes Ward. Hello. I'm sorry I can't. Hello, BitShoot. Oh, I've got. I'm not. So I can't read these comments out. Very sorry because it's just too many. There we know. Oh, Heidi TTFN. Hello. Is it treason? Is there as well? Dalai Lapa, welcome back, Dalai Lapa. Oh, we know. We got 39 people watching. That's cool. That's really cool. No trolls this evening. I think they've learned to stay away. They learned they're not going to get anywhere with me. Yes. So, hello. So, I don't know what you guys think about this, but feel free to share your thoughts or anything else you want to say about any other related subject. But Jay says, I've had more sightings when I don't have a phone or camera, a common thread on a lot of sightings. Yeah, Jay, it seems to avoid detection. It seems to avoid detection, doesn't it? It's a lot of people say that. They say, oh, I saw something amazing, but didn't remember to film it. I didn't remember to see anything. Or I didn't remember to record it. That's a common complaint, actually, of various people have. I don't know why that is. But there is this kind of like what's the word? The psychic backlash. I think that's Jonathan Downes calls it that. Jonathan Downes, the cryptozoologist. Where it's almost like a kind of like an awareness within the world at large that something's out there and it mustn't be seen. Strange that. It can't be proven, but it's very strange. David Keith, hello. Not bad, thanks. Is it treason? Says, at my sighting, I didn't even think of my phone. Oh, it's upsetting, isn't it? I mean, that time what I did when I had my sighting in 2008, the December 2008 one, which I described before, I was actually on the phone to my partner at the time, and I thought about just saying to her, look, I've got to get off the phone now and film this. But then I thought, it's not really worth it. I mean, I had my old film phone at the time, and I probably wouldn't have got a very good shot. And secondly, I was describing it to her, really, and I thought she could kind of be as a witness. Probably that, in evidential terms, that's probably better actually than actually filming it. Who would believe me? Yeah, Steve071 says, how many sightings have you had of strange objects, Ben? All right, probably a dozen times or so. I've seen things in the sky I can't explain. There are 3 that specifically, I think, defy explanation. One of them is the 2008 sightings. There was also one I had the year before when I was actually in Norfolk with Ellis Taylor, and weird things tend to follow him around. There was also an event when I was with Tony Topping the first time as well. That was also in 2007. And again, he seems to draw these things in. So as far as that's the UFO field, I mean, I've had other sightings of weird things on the ground, such as ghostly type phantom apparitions, which I talk about on my videos, such as a little boy who appeared on the floor of my bedroom one night, which is very strange. Diego Rivera, hello, Diego Rivera. I did etchings based on the Virginia alien. Have you? Oh, nice one. I mean, UFOs and things like that inspire a lot of art. They inspire music. They inspire artworks, paintings, etchings, as you say, and also, of course, literature. Yeah, there's my shameless plug. Get that out of your book. You'll love it. And right on cue, Liberace starts off, of course. Mart, hello, Mart. How about the mental health pandemic happening in the UK? The lockdown has many spiritual aspects to it. A lot of people may not be ready for being on one's own all the time for one. Yeah, it's taking its toll on people. I've known people who like finding it difficult. I mentioned the people who are fed up with not being able to work, missing their jobs, I mean, I suppose I'm quite a solitary person anyway, but I know a lot of people are fed up with like not being able to communicate with loved ones. I haven't seen my dad since early April. Well, I waved to him once from the car. That was it. I have seen my daughter. We met in the streets, but my brother I've not seen. It's just old Ahmed and Hassan. That's just them two. And I'm not really very close to them. David Schultz says, have you a view on the BBC's War of the World? Have you seen the BBC's War of the World? I didn't get a chance to see the series. I haven't, David, but it looks quite good because it's the correct period. All the other adaptations have been contemporary. For example, there's one in the 1950s, another one, I think 2013, that was Steven Spielberg's, both contemporary settings. This is the first adaptation I know of that is contemporary with the setting of the book, which is, I think, 1890s. I haven't seen it, though, but the story is, of course, it's the original alien invasion story, which inspired all the others. Which alien invasion stories and movies, they vary an awful lot. In terms of technical quality and intellectual content. War of the Worlds is the original. It's an interesting one. They have this kind of Deus Ex Machina at the end with the germs, which I thought was a bit not very satisfying, but Not bad. Diego Rivera says fragments. Where am I now? Hang on. Oh yeah. Matt says, how about? Oh, you've repeated the thing about the. Matt's repeated the comment about the mental health. Yeah. Diego Rivera says fragments of Comet Atlas will crash into the Earth soon. No, they won't. They're actually that some might crash into the sun, but I know because I've been following this on space weather. None of them are going to come near the Earth, from what I can tell. I'll double check. I'll double check Diego Rivera, but I don't think so. Oh, shut up, like Alan. Comet Atlas. Here we go. See what it says. New comet. Yeah, Comet Atlas has formed from the debris. Oh, a new comet. So this is interesting. A new comet. Just waiting for the page to load. It's right because I've got the live stream. Has formed from the debris of the original comet. Apparently, it's all. This often happens when things in space fragment. They come back together. Space enthusiasts have been keeping a keen eye on Comet Atlas, and it's made its way through the solar system. It's not going to hit the Earth. We'd know by now if it was going to hit the Earth or anything was going to hit the Earth. In April, the comet began crumbling apart, but a new comet has formed from the debris. Oh, right. That's pretty interesting. So I don't think it's going to strike the Earth. I mean, of course, something could strike the Earth at any time. It's like one of these things that often happens. Where are we now? Nihilist Lives Matter, and not to be confused with the crafty nihilist, says, I sighted a strange object in the mirror this morning. Well, you know, I sight a mysterious object in the mirror every morning. Jay, nihilist, is it treason? I came across a black-eyed child. I then found my neighbour dead on the kitchen floor. I went out for a drink and bumped into Larry Warren. What's the chances? That is odd, isn't it? I mean, the black-eyed kids is like, ooh, that's creepy, isn't it? Have you seen David Weatherly? And I've not read his book on it, but I've listened to his interviews about the black-eyed children. And I tell you what, it's like a real-life horror story. You could make a really good horror movie about that. You know, they say, can I come in and use your phone or something? And everyone goes, they seem like hypnotized and things like that. You know. What did Larry say when you did you tell him about it? Diego Rivera, the lockdown is due to Comet Atlas. No, it's not. It's not. Matt have not seen my mum and dad in ages. I'm sorry about that. Oh, my mum is mad. I haven't seen my dad in ages. I'm sorry on both counts, Matt. The Space Force Atlas rocket, says Diego Rivera. All right. Nihilist says the BBC's War of the Worlds was terrible. Right. I mean, I say I don't like the story very much. The book was a little bit sort of weird. I mean, there was that famous adaptation from Orson Welles, which caused a panic and led to him being. He was put in court, and he ended up in court facing charges. Jay, they lied about the orbit of Comet Atlas. Well, how can they lie about the orbit about anything up in space? I mean, I'm talking about astronomy now. Astronomy is the one truly democratic science. You can't cover things up in astronomy. There are too many telescopes. There are too many astronomers. If someone went on the news and said, oh, the Comet Atlas is doing this, millions of people around the world will be able to tell you otherwise. This is why there's no such thing as Nibiru. Steve071 says, will Trump be assassinated if he wins a second election? Probably not, Steve, because honestly, if someone could kill him, they'd have done it by now. He has some good guys on the inside looking after him. Obviously, they could get through to him. I mean, I pray every day for his safety. I really do. I continuously do. Nihilist Lives Matter. All right. The BBC took H.G. Wells' British Empire allegory and ran with it SJW side. It's awful. SJW style. I know, well, you know, Nihilist, there's a lot. The SJW thing is a big problem at the moment. My next video is probably going to be about that. So, it's kind of, it sounds like the BBC would do that. They would turn it into some kind of anti-white, anti-male kind of left-wing hate fest. I mean, they do that with everything now. That's what the BBC are now, aren't they? Zyfantiop says, Ben, why do you believe space weather but not NASA? Well, it's the other way round. I don't believe NASA. Yeah. Oh, sorry, you're the right. Okay. I don't believe NASA because NASA involves something different. It involves a different flow of information. Space weather and astronomy is different. I know. Zythantiops, I do recommend my video SETI and UFOs, where I go into this in detail. But you're talking about two entirely different kettles of fish here. One, you're talking about a very, very closed loop of information. The other, it's completely open and democratic. The data is right above our heads. It cannot be hidden. Gary Robinson, good evening. Videos from the underground. Hello, says David Adair says we just narrowly missed the end of a corona ejection in 2012. All right, that's a while ago. That's interesting. The coronal mass ejections do happen. We haven't had any for ages because we're in the solar minimum, and it seems to be a long solar minimum, very deep one too. So I don't know what to. Was guided off. David Adair, I mean, he's the one who talks about that strange alien engine in Area 51, doesn't he? I don't remember much about that, but I think he was actually at the Manchester event, the Awakenings Manchester last year. I didn't get the chance to meet him. Alien Biker, hello. Diego Rivera, large meteors have been falling on the Earth recently. Turkey had huge meteors. All right. Crafty Knight said, punch them in the face, the black-eyed kids. Well, you know, people who encounter them can't do that. They're like struck dumb. Ooh. It's like this strange mixture of horror and also fascination and a desire to comply with the child's request. What's interesting is all the witnesses to the black-eyed children say they turn them away. They slam the door in the face. They say no. Could this be because all the ones that do comply and say yes are not here to tell the tale? There's a great video. If you ever watched the YouTube channel Bedtime Stories, I do recommend that channel. It's pretty good. Hugo Rune says, what comments are you reading from? Hugo, I'm reading from these comments, the ones you're making. Gary Robinson says, any news on Project Blue Book Season 3 yet, Ben? Yes. Yes, it's doing very well. It's probably going to... I'll be covering that. I've actually... rather than repeat myself here, just go to the Herpanwo Voice blog, and you'll see I've written an entire article about it, and I'll be talking about that in my next UFO disclosure video. So you can either go and read about it now, or you can wait for the next UFO disclosure video. Is it Treason says, yes, I ended up drinking with Larry 4 hours. It was a good night. Next, all right. Oh, brilliant. Cool. He's good fun, Larry. He's good fun. Nothing is as it seems, says the Younger Dryas boundary does appear to be the result of an impact event. Yeah, Graham Hancock was talking about that. Yeah, about how there's massive melting of the ice caps and that the scars of it are still there apparently in various places, and he's visited these locations. Apparently on the US-Canadian border, there's a lot of them. Steve071, have you heard of the rake or seen supposed videos of it on YouTube, Ben? No, Steve. What rake? You mean the gardening implement? I mean, Diego Rivera says, Comet's orbit is only from NASA. Fact. No, it's not, Diego. It comes from a whole cluster of astronomy outfits around the world that cover the entire celestial sphere. This includes the amateurs. Astronomy is still one of the most popular, not some of the most popular hobbies. Hang on, we got a problem here. Hugo Rune says, these comments are not updating. What do you mean, Hugo? Let me just, hang on. Let me just go and see if I'll just go and check the actual playing, the video playing on here. I'm actually going to the video now to play. Let's have a look. I can see them, Hugo. Yeah, I can. Hugo, what's the problem, mate? I don't understand. I had to reload to see these comments. I don't understand why that is, Hugo. Sorry. Jay says, I'll send you stuff on Corona and the Sun. Proof is Obama knew and said nothing. Thanks, Jay. Please do. Video says a hit from the ejection could ruin all electronics. No water, no phone, no internet, no money. Disaster. Correct. You're talking about like something similar to the Carrington event. This happened in 1858, I believe, where there's a massive solar storm which basically destroyed the Earth's entire electrical grid. Now, in those days, that really the Earth's electrical grid consisted only of telegraph lines, which were all destroyed. But of course, nowadays, the electrical grid is far more widespread, sophisticated, and we're dependent on it. So there's what you could do is, there are some electric companies actually taking this into account, because if there was in the next solar maximum, if there was another similar event, it would be disastrous. It could billions of pounds worth of damage and then ruin the electronics. Of course, will cause terrible social, economic, and other kinds of problems. Hugely. So, some companies some electric grids have plans. They'll say, well, because when these are detected, they can you've got 24 hours notice if you're lucky, because these solar flares travel very fast. There would be time possibly to power down the grid, basically to reduce the power on the grid so it doesn't overload, switch off your electronic devices and things like that. Basically have an organized blackout to protect yourself. But the thing is, there's no contingency plans to organize that, and with 24 hours notice, would people be able to do it? Would everyone be able to do it? Nothing says here. Off three, they are in opposite camps. But I recommend Randall Carlson, Ben Davidson, Suspicious Observers. I've heard those names. I don't know who they are. Zyvantiop says, Ben, have you ever tried Stockwell tea bags from Tesco's? 57p for 80 bags. The cheapest by far and highly recommended. I haven't. I have Stockwell soups. The Stockwell soups are actually quite nice, and they're really cheap. Usually I think, well, cheap stuff's going to be not so good, but the Stockwell soup is really nice. I also have Stockwell here. I've got Stockwell tuna there. That's I make salads out of that. Thanks for the recommendation. Is Diego Rivera says, who is the best UFO researcher in the UK? Well, apart from me, there's Richard D. Hall. He's very good, although he's more a generalist now, not just UFO. There's Gary Hazeltine, Brian Allen, Jay Matthews, of course. I don't know who else. Quite a few. Win Keach. In terms of field research, Win Keach is unparalleled. There's Gary Jones, I think, is very much an unsung hero in the world of UFOs, because he's a local guy. He's a field researcher from South Wales, and what he's done with Cass Clark and the Pentuck incident, really, I think he deserves a big medal for that. And I've covered that on other videos in detail. Gary appears in the videos. Crafty Knives. When's Capel Green coming out? Well, it's basically as soon as the cinemas reopen, so there can be a premiere. Darnalis Matter says, what do you say to a black-eyed kid? Nothing, they've already been told. Well, I don't know what that means. Crafty, you're all right with the comments, and Denise is too, and Jay. Oh, right, you're all right now, Hugo. Cool. Whatever the problem was, Hugo, I'm glad it's passed. And thank God we don't have that buffering. But Fenlander says also, having trouble while with live chat, doesn't update, can't see all comments. Right, I don't know why that is, Fenlander. The same way I never found out what caused the buffering. It just seems to have gone away. I bought a new webcam, which I'll test at some point, simply just to try to eliminate that as a possibility. But it hasn't been all right now. Where are we now? Diego Rivera says these corona erections can be huge. Corona erections. There's several jokes that could come out of that, Diego Rivera. I think you mean the coronal mass ejections. Fenlander says, Google says I may be shadow banned. They won't tell you, you see, though. But you have to find out if you're analysing your own statistics. That's what I had to do. I worked out that I had, actually. Steve071 says, a rake is a humanoid creature that is seen running crouched on arms and legs, running at people. Oh, Steve, I haven't seen that. What the heck? A rake. And of course, it's a gardening tool. Rake creature. Creepy pasta. Oh, right. This will be interesting. Oh, I see. Oh, the rake. Yes. I'll check that out. If it's on creepy pasta, it's going to be good. Oh, I will. I'll check that out later. South Antiops. I thought Stockwell tea bags would be awful, but great. Well, I'll see if I can find any South Antiops. Yeah. Gary's eating Stockwell chili now. Stockwell is the shit. Oh, right. Well, I mean, the problem is cheap stuff. I try to. Sometimes you get some really cheap stuff from a supermarket. It can be a false economy because it's usually not as nice. Like, for example, Sainsbury's own brand. I found, of course, it's a matter of taste, but I tried getting the Sainsbury's own brand salad cream, and it really wasn't very nice. It wasn't nice at all. Nothing as it seems, says the 2-minute social distancing has been compromised. The 2 minutes, the social distancing stuff. Yeah, we've had, well, my last live stream was all about the riots and things like that that's happened. I'll be talking about that in the video I plan to make soon. I'm actually doing you may be interested. My next video is going to be a bit controversial, but it's going to be fun. It is really going to be fun because I'm going to tackle the whole thing to do with riots and the culture behind them. Steve 071, Paul Sinclair is a good investigator. Yes, mustn't forget him. He's pretty good. Jay Matthews said, right, I'll check Messenger, Jay. I'll check that out. Thank you very much. Is it treason? Says, right, the War Department is on the way over. Night, Ben, and everybody. It's soaps for me now, boo-hoo. All right. Well, thanks for posting, is it treason? And I hope you enjoy your soap operas or your bath, whatever you mean. Diego Rivera says, Uranus has a ring. I think we're looking at more unoriginal jokes here, Diego Rivera, which I won't make. It's Diego Rivera says, what about this statue that toppled? Yeah, that's a statue of a guy called Edward Coulson, who's a local hero in Bristol. It was pulled down because apparently at some point, sometime in his life, he had some connection with the slave trade. And considering he lived in the 19th century, that's hardly surprising. I think he was like 1750 or something he was born. And there's a lot I could say about that, which I'll cover in a future video. I'm planning another video all about this, probably in the next, I don't know, it's going to be a long one. I might have to wait till the weekend. Yeah, Croft, you live not far from there. It's terrible that this fuss about the Rhodes statue. I think I didn't make a video about it, but I did bring it up on her Panmo Voice, the statue of Cecil Rhodes, Oriel College here in Oxford. They're desperate to pull it down. There's actually a South African student who is a Rhodes scholar who's kicking up about the fact that Oriel College has a statue of Cecil Rhodes. This is just after the statue of Rhodes in Cape Town University was pulled down. Now, I think I covered this in my live stream about the South African farms, which was a very upsetting video I had to make about the fact that white people are being exterminated, and it's bloody horrible. And I brought this up, but it's this horrible little squid. He comes from South Africa. He's only in Oxford University in the first place because of the generosity of the Rhodes Mandela Trust. I did a video about the Rhodes House, didn't I? Do you remember? And then he turns around and he tries to tell this ancient university they can't have a statue of the guy on this because at some point he apparently got a bad reputation or he did something politically incorrect for various reasons. And the thing is, you can't give in to these people because once you give in to them, they just demand more and they demand more and they demand more. They won't stop until the statue of basically every white heterosexual male is vanished. And we're at year zero. I think that's what they want. Oh, I covered it. It's going to be depressing because I did that live stream about South Africa. I'm going to have to do another. It's not going to be a live stream, but I'm going to do a video about this again, probably quite soon, maybe my next video. Diego Rivera says, George Soros, a modern-day slave trader. Well, in some ways he is, isn't he? He's certainly trying to enslave the world. videos. Jordan Peterson has a good analysis on the riots. Marxists run wild. I hope he's better. If he's making, I haven't caught up with him because I know he's been ill, and if Jordan Peterson is on the mend, good. If he's well enough to comment on this, I'm really pleased. The Dalai Lama says, "You leave Ben's Uranus out of this." Yes. Gary Robertson, Ben, 2 mates, 2 words. Chocky's challenge. Is that's the John Wyndham story? Well, it's the TV series, isn't it? I know you left a comment on a video, which I'll be addressing in my next comments reply video about this. But I know the TV series you're referring to. I know it's based on a book by John Wyndham, and yeah, because one of them had like this alien trapped in a base, in a military base, and they have to go in and get them out, don't they? Yeah, that was a good series. I remember that. I was a little kid when it came out. It was bloody good. Crafty Nihilist says all of Bristol is slave trade originated. So what they're going to do? See, they're going to demand the entire city is demolished. They really will. Scythanchop says leftists are using the Rules for Radicals playbook to the letter. That's right. It was Saul Alinsky. I've not actually read that book, but Sargon of Akkad has done a video about it, which is very interesting. Jay Matthews says, do you think that a lot of what's happening is currently a psychic attack? There seems to be several wars at play, white hats versus black hats, a war of media and a spiritual war. Yes, that's pretty much what's happening. I'll talk about that in my, I must do it's going to be a bloody difficult video to do because it's going to be very long and it's a lot I have to put into it, but I'm planning a big video all about this. So Thantiop says, I want to read Chucky. It's on my list. It's a good series. I never read the book. Nothing. I was dressing Diego. Dalai Lama. It's probably twat hats that are doing it. Oh, there's some idiots in this world. Hello, Charles Scott. Nihilist Lives Matter. 19th century slave trader, 21st century pro-immigration. Different names and opinions, same results, using black people for their own reasons. That's an interesting way to look at it, Nihilist, and that's true. I mean, they're taking advantage of people, messing with their heads, filling them with hate, and then using them. You know. Video says Bill Clinton was a Rhodes Scholar. Yes. Statues of the Confederacy were pulled down by extremists. They are indeed. This is literally an attempt to erase history because they don't like that history. And the thing about history is has good and bad sides. And if you start saying, well, I'm going to eliminate the history, the bad side of history and keep the good, you're not going to get a full... That's the thing. I mean, having, commemoration doesn't mean endorsement. Having a statue of Edward Coulson in Bristol doesn't mean you support what he did. Not that he did anything that was considered immoral in his time. Just the way the police just let them get away with it? They just stand back and they have a reverse containment policy. They surround the area and they don't let anyone in and things like that. But then they just, within that area where the so-called protest is going on, they just let them run riot. They just let them run rampage. Dalai Lama says Jordan Peterson has a wonderful temple region. Wonderful temple region. Well, on his head, you mean? And he also says leftists give the worst reach around. They are actually, these riots are actually doing a lot of good because people are really fed up with it. Charles Scott says George Soros mentions one of the Illuminati or Cabal. Oh, I'll check that out. I'm glad I'll check that out. I mean, I'm glad he's being a bit more open, isn't he? Splendid Isolation says where? Aztec, Mexico. There's a place called Aztec, New Mexico, where there was a UFO crash. Diego Rivera, they're using BLM to increase censorship. Correct. John Nolan, hello, John. I have the McCanns found their Patsy. Yes, isn't that funny, isn't it? The Madeleine McCann thing's coming in the news again. Can you believe that? David Schultz says, Ben, on the Epix network, also had a version of the War of the Worlds. Interesting take that the aliens used a magnetic signal affecting the frequency of brainwaves, killing all unsheltered humans. All right. Dave, I'm not sure if I'm not going to watch this if it's going to be just because I've read the book. I've seen the other films. I've listened to the radio show as well by Orson Welles. If it's just going to be another white-hating, man-hating fest, I don't want to see it. You know. Jay says, what do you make of Trump's tweet today about the leftists eating their young? Cryptic but wisely chosen words. All right, I haven't seen that. What's he been up to, old Trumpy? I do follow him on Twitter. The real Donald Trump. Let's have a look. Make America Great Again. He's been retweeting quite a few people. I'll check it out. I'll find it, Jay. I'll find where Trump says that. Nihilist says Gandhi and said some pretty awful things about Africans. When will they tear his statue down? Well, funny enough, he did have the word racist scrawled on the pavement underneath his statue. But that was as far as it went. I mean, the same way, I made this point on social media the other day. There's a statue, there's a bronze statue in Vienna of an Arab slave trader. And I said, well, when's this going to be pulled down? But no. It seems that they don't like things that commemorate slavery, but only the slavery done by white people. The slavery done by everyone else is fine. That's absolutely okay. Why is it the Madeleine McCann thing has suddenly come up again? And they've got someone else, another prime suspect. But once again, it's not the people who should be the prime suspect, as that brilliant series by Rich Planet shows. Hugo Rune says, create chaos, then have a new order. Mao Zedong taught us well. Yep. Ordo ab chaos is actually it's the motto of the 33rd degree of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. The Dalai Lama says, if you can get death and paralysis in the same room at the same time, you're onto something. Well, presumably, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what you mean there, Dalai. A cheap alternative to chicken? What are you talking about? Iman Padima says, one of my neighbors is heavily into UFOs. It's one aspect of the conspiracy that I can't get that into because it's so out of this world. I don't know what's plausible and what is unlikely. Well, Iman, this video, I mean, obviously when we go into the Q&As, we always go off topic, but this video is actually about a UFO event that does seem not very, to be honest, there doesn't seem to be much reason to continue it. It looks as if, unless more evidence comes to light, that it's fake. It's just a red herring. It's complicated, but there is a reason to take it seriously. There really is. Not that everything is real within it, and I've always been keen to look at both sides of every story, but having done that, I concluded that some of it is real. I think what's likely and unlikely, when you're dealing with uncertainties, there are some things that are likely. Charles says, I've given hyperlink on your comments before about now, and Soros is one of them. Oh, really? Is Georgie watching, is he? Well, your time, if you're watching, Georgie boy, your time's coming to an end, mate. We're rising up and we're fighting back against you. We can see through your lies. The people, ordinary people are looking at these riots and they're perceiving them in a way they've never perceived these sort of things before. Eman says, so it's hard to tell info from disinfo. No alien crisis actors. Well, there may be. I don't know. Crafty Nihilist, the word reset refers to the currency reset. Now, that's that basically, it all ties into what happened in 2008, which Gordon, no, it's 2002, actually, when Gordon Brown was Chancellor of the Exchequer. He sold off half of Britain's gold at a discount price, which is essentially financial vandalism. It's sabotage of our economy. And people say, well, he must be mad to do that. No Chancellor of the Exchequer would do that in his right mind. Well, he's in his right mind. He just wants to destroy the country. And so the currency reset involves basically taking every currency, abolishing some, replacing them with continental currencies like the euro, and adjusting all their levels to a new regulated point. and then basically pressing reset, starting the economy again. So the whole financial system essentially is rebooted. But it'll be rebooted into the form that the Illuminati wanted. I mean, really, if you think about, someone says to me, if you could get a time machine, Ben, go back and change one thing that would make the Illuminati New World Order impossible in the future, there are several places you could go which are important points of basically turning points in the entire story. And the biggest is probably round about, was it 1906 or 1907, basically when the Federal Reserve Act was passed and fiat currency really took off big time internationally. Because if that had happened, you would have stuck to the gold standard. You wouldn't have had the Great War. It would be possible to have the Great War because no one could have afforded it. World War I was funded pretty much from the Bank of England on basically fiat currency, on fractional reserve lending. You couldn't have had a war on that scale without that. Without the First World War, there'd have been no Russian Revolution. There'd have been no Soviet Union. There'd have been no World War II. There'd have been no Hitler. There'd have been no Weimar Republic in Germany and no Hitler. There would have been no Cold War. The whole thing, the whole 20th century and this day would be different. It's possible, unless the Illuminati came up with something else, that the New World Order agenda could have floundered 100 years earlier. But that's all speculation. I mean, alternative history is what I do, isn't it? I mean, another shameless plug. This is asking. This book is about another of these things where you go back in time, change something, and let it run and see what happens. In this case, it's July the 8th, 1947, the Roswell incident. Where are we now? Oh. Splendid isolationist. BLM and Antifa aren't fascists. They're Bolsheviks agitating for a Marxist-style revolution. Yeah, aka 1917 Russia. That is a reason the Black Power salute is the same as the Marxist salute. Yes, there's always like a big... I mean, I covered this in a previous video, several actually, but the whole Marxist thing has gone from the Bolshevik thing, and it's all gone into sort of like race relations and things like that, what I call cultural... Well, not what I call, what is called cultural Marxism. Dalai Lama says, that's the last time I quote my childhood. Oh, Dalai, you are really, sometimes you are very strange. You really are. Dalai Lama. Steve-071 says, what's the best alien invasion film? I always liked the original Day of the Earth. The Day the Earth was still an invasion of the body snatchers. Yeah, I don't think Invasion of the Body Snatchers doesn't really, I don't know if it counts as an alien invasion movie. But if you mean like the sort of flying saucer landing type alien invasion movies, as I said, they vary an awful lot. There's some real clangers like the Independence Day and its sequel, which I actually reviewed because I was so, well, it was interesting even though it was a crap film. And the best ones I think there are, you mentioned the Day the Earth Stood Still, fantastic film. The original, forget the bloody remake with Keanu Reeves, that's rubbish. The original one with Michael Rennie, fantastic film. And of course, I've got the DVD of it somewhere. Well, it's somewhere on my huge pile. The Arrival. The Arrival, that one about that's a recent one about the big objects that come and hover. Have you seen it, The Arrival? I've talked about it on this channel. Nihilist Lives Matters, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Well, that's not bad, Nihilist. I mean, it's I wouldn't call it an alien invasion movie per se. In the same genre, but it's still bloody good. Jay says, oh, a UFO question, mate. I'm glad we're back on topic. What do you think of Stephen Greer pushing the CE5 protocol? Surely this has to be similar to the effects of using a Ouija board. Possibly, Jay, except the Ouija board's a lot cheaper. You can actually make one for very low. You can make your own, actually, for a very low price. You can't do anything with the CE5 protocols without Greer's signing everything over to Greer, paying a lot of money and signing everything over to him. I don't see why sky watching should cost money, quite frankly. Greer, I've got a much lower opinion of Greer than I used to have. Stephen Bassett, I'm still very fond of. Greer's, he's like, I get tired of hearing about his exploits, about being on luxury islands in Australia and being in Chateau in Brittany, talking to important people. It's all about him, isn't it? His film, you go to his films, it's all pictures of him wearing tight jeans, spreading his legs. I mean, as the Buddha said when in the story of the Buddha, if you can't conquer your own ego, you can't become enlightened. And Greer's ego is far from conquered. I mean, Greer's one of these people, they don't have an ego, it's their ego has them. Nothing says, Gandhi reminds me of the out of Australia theory. Bengali coast India had ties to Australia. I don't know what that means, sorry, but I'm interested in sort of things like that. Theories of history and the origins of life and things like that. Mr. MT says, BLM are a racist organization. Me and my friends will be defending monuments. I'm not going to read the rest of this, Mr. MT, because you probably watched Tommy Robinson's video where he's screaming at the camera, going, "Oh, they've ruined our statues. We're going to go down there. We're going to show them what for." That is basically what Tommy Robinson is advocating is the perfect media spot for exactly the story the BBC, CNN, all these damn legacy media outlets want to tell. They want to show pictures of lots of angry white people being violent. Do you think you're going to get the same treatment? Do you think these people they're going to get the same treatment as these other rioters have got? No. It's really you should let these mobs have destroyed the credibility of the left. I mean, it's sad that they're taking the statues down. Statues could be replaced. They could be put back. In fact, they're already talking about pulling Edward Coulson's statue out of from the bottom of the harbour where it's been dumped. You cannot, once you win the hearts and minds of the people, which has happened, the public are really against all this. They've really discredited themselves big time. Don't ruin it. Just let them keep destroying themselves. Let them keep poisoning their own image in the eyes of the people. Jay Matthews says, as in, how long can you be sure of what you're attracting? Surely to believe all extraterrestrials are benevolent is a little foolish, right? It is foolish. Extraterrestrials seem to be very, very different. There's a lot of different kinds. There's many different species. Some of them are 6'6" tall, as the ones we've heard about, which probably didn't come down in Magé. Others are small greys. There's the Nordics, there's the mantids, there's the little blue creatures. There's all kinds. There's a taxonomy of these creatures. And even within the species, they exhibit a wide variety of behaviors. And the majority appear to be quite neutral, actually. They're just kind of, I think, get the feeling they're just observing us. It's almost like we're being scientifically studied. There's some that, like the ones Mary Rodwell talks about, who seem to be very friendly and even loving. There are a minority, but luckily they are a minority, but they do exist. They seem to mean us harm. They've harmed people. They have even killed people. So Greer is really talking rubbish. I remember that famous debate with Kerry Cassidy, where the two of them argue, and it's very good, actually. But Kerry is actually quite right. she pulls him up on this. Taff, Derek Baker, hello, how are you? On the subject of astronomy, Taff is a person who really has done a lot of photographing of space. I think when you realise what astronomers are capable of, you'll realise you can't actually keep secrets in astronomy. You can't. Nihilist says, I'm not happy about Brown selling gold, but truth is money is backed by intellectual property in the modern world. That's one of the things. I mean, intellectual property is like physical capital. In a sense, that's what I create when I write these books. I create physical capital. The way that the elite are using the financial system and have been now for so long, I mean, it goes back to before the Federal Reserve Act. In fact, you could say the Knights Templar were part of this agenda too, because they worked with the black nobility of Venice to create a banking system long ago. In that we're talking like in the 12th century, many centuries ago, to control the economy of the world. If you control money, you control industry, you control things like that. It's one of the biggest control systems there is. Charles Scott, I agree. I think the NWO is gradually collapsing. Charles, it's not so gradually, I would say. Since 2016, it's almost disintegrating. Do you mind? I'm going to take a little quick break now, if you don't mind. So you play amongst yourselves. I think Liberace is stopped now, so I'll just mute the mic. And we'll reconvene in a few minutes. Feel free to go and get yourself a cup of tea. So back shortly. Hope you're all right. Hope everything's going okay. Let me just want to check something. Where's history? Right. Check it's still running. Yeah, it still is. I'll just get that. Just adjusting my notes and things. Won't be a sec. Oh, come on. I can actually hear myself. Hope you guys are all right. We've been going for almost 2 hours now, but I'm happy to keep it going for a bit. If anyone wants to bring anything up, people have time to join and come up. There's still 47 people watching. So, someone says, Iman Pudima says, isn't there a school of thought within ufology which holds that it's all as much a paranormal phenomena as nuts and bolts one? Suppose it might not be so much of a distraction to them. Yes, there is. I mean, there's people like John Keel, for example, who bring this up an awful lot, and there's some validity to that. It doesn't mean that there aren't actual solid craft and real aliens, but that we may be involving more than one phenomenon. Maybe we have categorized together or categorized generically as UFOs. That's possible. Video says, Gordon Brown, Tony Blair both wanted the world government. Glad people are wise to them now, and now Brexit must happen as scheduled. Fight for your culture regardless of what happens. Absolutely, videos. They did want the New World Order, and we got like that has gone undone. The fact that Brexit has taken place is really amazing. And of course, they're going to try and delay the negotiations as long as possible to try and mess everything up. At some point in the next week or two, we're going to actually hear about possibly an official delay, of which case I will cover that on this channel if that happens. that's in the negotiation. Brexit has happened. We are independent nominally, but of course we're reorganizing our relationship to the European Union. But the hope is that they'll mess it up totally. That's what they want to do, and then people in this country will turn against the idea, and at some point before the next general election, a rejoin alliance will emerge. Because what was it Verhofstadt said? You can always come back. The door's open for you to return if you want. Get stuff for Verhofstadt, not a bloody chance. I hope Boris. Boris unfortunately seems to be under pressure at the moment. He's just signed this deal with Bill Gates, which they must have threatened the baby, possibly. I don't know. That's a disappointment, and I hope he'll just go with the Bali package, which I talked about before, which basically is the World Trade Organization rule book, which can be implemented immediately, and it works perfectly well. It worked for South Sudan. It can work for us. E-Man says, but that's what I mean when everything is possible. Hard to know what to discount. Yeah. Mr. MT, Little Britain is now banned. I want White Chicks banned. Oh, really? Is Little Britain actually banned? Because Little Britain is an absolute anomaly because it's so funny. The reason it's so funny is because it is politically incorrect. It's not for some reason. I don't know. It's an aberration when you consider the modern BBC. When you consider that it has so much comedy that is considered taboo nowadays. But that's why it's so successful. That's why it's so funny. Because they just make jokes. They're not scared to make jokes about old people because old people are funny. They're not scared to make jokes about homosexuals because homosexuals are funny. It's that simple. Things like that. All the other really risque pieces of humor they get into. As for White Chicks is actually a really good film. I really enjoyed it. It's very. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's about two black police detectives. And they go undercover, but they go undercover in the most amazing way. Their disguise doesn't only mean they just change sex and they dress as women, but they also put on white face makeup and make themselves look like white women. It's hilarious, but it's so politically incorrect. It's very politically incorrect. Steve071, I heard a rumor that you wrote a book, Ben. Oh, where? Steve, not me. Splendid says, have you seen it? Knowing? I was rather impressed with that film. Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was a bit depressing, wasn't it? But this thing about the Men in Black, I mean, it brings up the subject of the Men in Black, which is very, very interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Video says, the day the Earth stood still, Contact, Arrival, Forbidden Planet 2001. They're all great sci-fis, those. Well, yeah, I mean, I've not seen. Yeah, is there any? I've seen them all. Yeah, I've seen them all, and they're all really good videos. Great movies. J. David Schultz, Ben, I heard that as of June the 15th, it will be mandatory to wear a mask on all public transportation, and we'll be closing all loos in the near future. You know, David, they are, because the lockdown's easing, and they think, well, they're going to have to do more to stop people spreading it around. But you know what? It's all this whole lockdown thing's rubbish, as I said on my videos about it. There is a way you can turn that around and fire it back at them. They can backfire on them. What you do is, now my instinct, of course, is to refuse, and I don't need short distance public transport in my life. I just walk everywhere. If you have longer journeys to work or to see family, if you are disabled, you have to use public transport. Well, you know what you can do? You can wear a mask, but do it under protest. And what you do is get a mask and write something subversive on it, like Hapanwo, Hapanwo TV, or like Infowars.com or DavidIke.com or something like that on the mask. And if a policeman or conductor or driver tells you to take it off, say, I'm not taking this off. I don't want to break the law. I tell you what, if you read the Hapanwo Voice blog, I've done an entire article about that. So you guys, I don't know how many of you actually read my written work as well as watch my videos, because you should, because there's really interesting stuff on there. Alien Biker says, Arrival, the Charlie Sheen version was not bad either. Oh yeah, that was quite good, wasn't it? That's Arrival rather than The Arrival, and it's about it brings in the SETI thing with the radio telescopes, but it's about aliens already living on the Earth disguised as humans. Very interesting. Jay Govera, what's the best way to see UFOs? The best way is to skywatch. Go somewhere quiet at night and just study the sky, and you'll hopefully see something. And it's good. It's a good social event. Bring your friends along. You can sort of sit out and under the stars, have a couple of beers. It's always good fun. That's that Arrival. I've not seen Arrival 2. I saw Arrival 1. That was very, very good. David Schultz. What about the second TV version of V? I've not seen that. Never seen V. Charles Scott says Greer and Bassett give out disinformation. Bassett also speaks truths. Greer probably is part of the cover-up, such as free energy, etc. Greer and Bassett are very different people, and they don't. Well, Bassett, I don't think, gives out disinformation. Bassett makes, well, at least he doesn't. I think he avoids certain topics, and indeed, I've challenged him on a couple of issues when I interviewed him, and he just says, "Look, I don't want to go there because it could hurt the advocacy process." Greer is different. Greer, I think, Greer has his ego problems, which means a lot of what he does, I think, is for his own self-aggrandizement. Not that I'm saying I don't believe Greer is an evil devil incarnate or anything like that. I think he has a good side to him. He's still worth watching, worth listening to. He's got a new video out, which I want to see at some point. The last one I saw, it's in the unacknowledged one. Or was it? I think it was unacknowledged. That was Andrew Johnson's? I can't remember. But he's got another one out now, which apparently is different. It doesn't have lots of shots of him flashing his testicles. But Bassett is much more honest and sincere, I think. Bassett is much. I think Bassett is doing what he does because he believes in it, and I respect him a lot. I like the guy. I've interviewed him several times. There's some videos on my channel. You can see the two of us together. And I wish him all the best. I hope he's right. I'd love him to be right. I think he's wrong about certain things. I think we disagree about an awful lot. But as far as his character goes, that's beyond question in my view. Diego Ferreira, the best Red Dwarf was when Gandhi got blown up and was made of wax. Yes, that's the Wax World one. Red Dwarf is great. I love Red Dwarf. The V, I've never seen V. There's several posts about V. I've not seen them. Derek says, I respect what Greer did, but he's changed. He has... Yeah, he's got worse, actually. I mean, he's always had this kind of like, pigeon-chested attitude. He's always been a bit strutting around like a peacock kind of thing, but that has got worse over the years. He's always had it, but it's got worse. No, little lives matter. I don't think aliens are benevolent. They're just too fond of anal probing the degenerates. Well, this idea, this sort of like this cliche, of the West Country yokel being taken from his field out off the top of his tractor, and it's partly true, but it's not universal. As Paul the alien said in that funny film, "What do you think we're doing? Harvesting farts?" Steve71, why'd you leave the spoon in your cup, Ben? Oh, blimey. I don't know. I mean, some people, when I was a porter, someone says, "Oh, you can have your eye out with that because the spoon gets hot and it could go in your eye." Oh, I don't know. Oh, I'm not sure. I don't know, Steve. Sorry. E-Man says, I've heard the theory that aliens are native to Earth too, but if they're from another dimension, then maybe it wouldn't make much sense to say they're from everywhere. I don't know. It's confusing. Well, E-Man, they've certainly been on this Earth, at least as long as we have. They've certainly been here. I mean, what we call stories of aliens and UFOs date back through history. And indeed, there's every reason to believe that people were experiencing UFO sightings and alien abductions in prehistoric times. They probably interpreted them differently and called them different things, but they were definitely there. I mean, you find there's old ancient paintings and things, including like Renaissance paintings with a flying saucer, and there's cave paintings which show aliens and flying saucers. Yeah. So those are tens of thousands of years old. No, it's lives matter. Travel hundreds of light years for a sodomy holiday. I know. To think like overweight 60-year-old British men going to Thailand for that sort of thing is when the aliens travel much further for the same thing. Oh, you're looking at Bungle again, Crafty Nihilist. Yeah, Bungle's still there in the headboard, watching over me. Steve says, I spied my little eye something beginning with B. Let me guess. Nihilist says, is Ben building a fort around his bed? It's not a fort. It's just a pile of books and DVDs. Believe it or not, I've got like a table over there with more books on, which you can't see. It's just like, it's intellectual content, really. It's sort of like it's brain fodder. Bungle wearing a helmet, yeah. Taff says, I think what's happening is archaeoastronomy, bro. Yeah. You remember, I don't know if you've seen, watch my SETI UFO video, because I talk about like the Brookings Institute. You'll like that, Derek. You really will. Hugo Roon says, there are no other dimensions. There's only three. Time is not a dimension. It's just the continuing now. Oh, Hugo, I know you have your own interesting views on physics, and I know you sometimes discuss these things. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's obviously something out there that's coming from somewhere. Sometimes it just appears as if it emerges within our universe. So I don't know what the answer is then. Crafty says, I look at Bungle more than Ben. Yeah. I know he's much more handsome, isn't he? E-Man says, I didn't time when was a dimension. Oh no, I think E-Man's addressing Hugo there. Where are we now? Someone said something about Skinwalker Ranch. I've just screwed. I just flicked to the bottom again. I wish it wouldn't do that. Jay says, what were your thoughts on the recent Skinwalker Ranch TV show and its criticism? I've got to watch that. Where can I see that? Is it on tour? I just want to watch that, Jay, because it's well, basically I'm on the Kev Baker show next Tuesday, and he said, could you watch the Skinwalker Ranch show before then, because we want to talk about it. I've only watched the bloody. It was. Oh, I've got to make a note in my diary. Hang on, Skinwalker. Hang on. There we go. I've got to watch it. I've got to find a way to watch it. It's probably on various semi-dodgy websites, but I'll find it somewhere and watch it. I'd like to see it, Jay. I haven't yet, but the Skinwalker story is really fascinating. I read the book. I read George Knapp's book and Com Heller's book. Nothing says I've got a lovely room. Thanks. So it gets me for what I need to do. This is where I live, and it's all I need, really. I don't need anything more. It's really nice. E-Man says, Flatlanders would think there's no third dimension. Yeah, that's a really good book, Flatland. It really is. Hugo Root says, maths is not proof of other dimensions. No, it's not proof. No. I mean, proof of other dimensions is actually being able to perceive them in terms of data. E-Man says, to be fair, though, aliens from a fifth dimensional world wouldn't look like anything we could comprehend or perhaps see. Well, they may end up looking like those scary things in the film The Mist. Do you remember that? That's a good movie if you've not seen it. It's a great horror film, made better by its premise. It's really good. David Schultz says, if anyone here is interested about alien life forms, the book The Field Guide to Extraterrestrials by Patrick Hugh. Right. I'll check that out. Crafty, Nick Hayes. I've got to talk to him again. I haven't talked to him for a couple of weeks. I hope he's okay. Just Diego Rivera, what's the best equipment to see UFOs? Well, it's naked eye sky watching is perfectly fine, but getting a pair of binoculars is not a bad idea. If you want to get really sophisticated, you could buy the expensive stuff that Win Keats uses. If you get really, really catch the bug, where you can see like infrared stuff, like Nick Hayes as well, who does that. But just the best thing to start out is just go out into the countryside with a deck chair and a 6-pack and just a pair of binoculars and have a chat with your mates. If you've got earphones, put a UFO thing on the earphones, on a radio show or something, and that's probably the best thing to do. Splendid says Jacques Vallet's position, UFO. Yeah, Jacques Vallet's correct. Actually, I think there seems to be, especially when you get the flaps like at Point Pleasant and Cornwall and places like that, you often get like other phenomena alongside it, which is very interesting. Hugo and E-Man are having a debate here. That's cool. I want to watch it. I mean, Kev Baker has just said he's asked me to watch it before the next show I'm on with him, so my nose is itching now. I've got to do that. I really have to. Where am I now? I've lost my place. Nothing says something about the vaccine. The vaccine, I'll cover that in a future show. Perhaps Trump isn't on our side. He is on our side, but he's hopefully he can keep going, because obviously the powers that be, the powers that were, these the Illuminati, are fighting back. They're going to try and get back where they were before. Nihilist says Little Britain is mild compared to the League of Gentlemen. I don't think it is, Nihilist. It's the League of Gentlemen is also really funny. It's not. The second series actually takes the mickey a bit out of political, out of new comedy and SJWism, like that. There's that transgender taxi driver, things like that. The first series is much better. The second series is missing something. Eamon says, I don't like David Williams. Oh, I think he's very good in the series. I don't know him. I think he's very good. Alien Biker says Skinwalker Ranch program is okay, but it leaves more questions than answers. I've got to see it. I'll look for it on tour later. I may even ask Kev where I can watch it. E-Man, Little Britain seems like a comedy for 5-year-olds. It's the kind of comedy that was on TV when I was 5. June the 15th day, Magna Carta signed day, mandatory masks. They're rubbing our nose in it. That's interesting, isn't it, Crafty? Is that a coincidence? Do you know there was someone trying to buy the Magna Carta? Did you hear about that? Because the Magna Carta document still exists. I think it's kept in, is it Salisbury Cathedral or Winchester Cathedral? It's kept there, and someone's trying to buy it. And the bastards are going to sell it. It's unbelievable. It's like selling the Declaration of Independence in the USA. It's like, what? Are we now? BBC Two had some great alternative shows. There was some fantastic show. I mean, this is why comedy from 40 years ago is more popular than comedy today. It's simply because it's funnier. And the BBC is actually trying to censor it. I mean, they banned all those comedies with Warren Mitchell, In Sickness and in Health, Till Death Us Do Part. They're all gone. Mind Your Language is gone. And what's the other one? Love Thy Neighbour. Those comedies have all been censored. They've been completely taken off. They've been taken off the market by the TV networks that produce them, especially the BBC. Luckily, they're obviously bootlegs are still around on YouTube. You can actually, thank goodness for YouTube, you can now watch them. Although, wouldn't be surprised with the way YouTube's going. They get dropped from there as well. This is why when people love a good comedy, where do they go? They go to UK Gold. They go to these places where they can watch Fawlty Towers and things like that, and not the 9 o'clock news. And my daughter loves those as well, and she was born long after those ever made, but she loves them. She can't stand modern comedy. I know Hugo and E-Man are debating. That's fine. Good. E-Man says paranormal investigators try to test the theory. This is right. Yeah. 19th century psychical research absolutely fascinates me. Nile says Greer took too many roids. Oh, that's there's a joke about David Icke compared to around that as well. Crafty Nick's work is fantastic. It really is. Channel 4, yeah. Channel 4 are like the BBC. They're just the BBC. Funnily enough, about Channel 4, as you know, they're not actually as independent as they make out. They are partly state-owned as well. I mean, I found this out. Obviously, the BBC is a state-owned corporation. The Channel 4 is also partly state-owned. It's interesting. Charles Scott says, Richard D. Hall, Steve Bassett, 9/11 disinformation. He also avoids answers, doesn't want to end the cover-up on UFOs. He does, Charles. Though I've actually challenged Steve Bassett on this. I mean, Richard actually commented on my interview with Steve at one point, because I do challenge him on several subjects, such as the 9/11 weaponization thing, and Paul Hellyer. I also challenge him on the human mutilations issue, and he does avoid of answering, but he does. He says he believes it will harm the advocacy process, which is why he doesn't want to talk about it. Which is, it's up to him. I think he's wrong to take that position. I think it won't harm the advocacy process. In fact, I think it's essential to the advocacy process, quite frankly. But this idea, I mean, that Bassett is some kind of disinformation agent. I know there's certain individuals who tend to go to that. It's kind of their go-to answer, isn't it? Everyone who disagrees with them is disinfo. No, he's not. He's not. Greer, I'm not so sure about. But Bassett, you can't. I don't think you can question his character. If you can, then go. Watch my video about the Shield Tribunal. If you'll want that, go for it. Well, put people up in front of the tribunal. Sort it out. Now, the DM, Jay Matthews, I won't read this out because it's kind of part of a conversation between posters, but he brings up the issue of DMT, dimethyltryptamine. Very interesting indeed. Absolutely fascinating stuff. There's books and videos about that I really recommend. Graham Hancock's book, Supernatural, read it. It's fantastic. Derek says, Steve Bassett is a remarkable man. He is. Diego Rivera said, did aliens abduct dinosaurs? I don't know if they go that far back, Diego Rivera, but possibly. Paul Armstrong. Hello, Paul. How are you? Oh, we're in for a laugh now. Says Ben, do you ever wake up at night discombobulated and send you a wall of DVDs and books flying? I did once, actually, Paul, several years ago when I basically got a bit too drunk. I did. I had to put them all back again. Derek's brought up, Grant Cameron. I like Grant. Yeah, he's cool. He makes some mistakes. I referred specifically in 2016 after the US election. I think he and Steve lost it a bit with Trump. I mean, Steve and Grant was going on a great big blue funk about Steve. He wrote a 9,000 word lament about Trump, and I actually did tackle him on that in one of my videos. Bassett was saying, "Oh, we need a caretaker government because Trump's so awful because Hillary didn't get in," and again, that's totally wrong. And this is one of the things Steve and I totally disagree with. Jay says, you just had a huge spider run down behind the... Oh, my God, the bungalow. Oh, my God. Oh, dear. I've got to sleep there tonight, Jay. I hope it goes away. David Schultz says, Ben, the most famous aliens are the Anunnaki. Yeah, the Anunnaki. I've not read... Now, Zachariah Sitchin, how many books did he write? 26 or something books? I've got halfway through the first one and had to give up on it. It's very difficult to get into. Very difficult. Derek says another great man is Daniel Sheehan. He is indeed. Yes, he is, Derek. He's lovely. He's great. He was at the Citizen hearing. He was also... he stood up for Dr. John Mack when he was in trouble at Harvard University. And stood by Mac. It was brilliant. Brilliant guy. He's a lawyer. He also defended. He also worked. No, it wasn't. It was someone else. It was Franz Gagne, I think, who helped John Burroughs get his medical records back and get his hazardous duty pay, things like that. But yeah, Daniel Sheehan, great guy. Video says UFOs get a night shot camera with infrared. Yeah, sit in the lawn chair, react and point to anywhere in the sky. Brings friends. You can actually do sky watching from your back garden. Especially if you live in a rural area, it's very easy to do. You don't have to go very far to do sky watching. Even if you go into a park or something, or you don't have to go very far to get away from city lights. I mean, usually just a few hundred yards from major city areas, and the sky begins to clear when you get away from the glow of street lights. Ideally, you need to go to a very remote place. I know people who go up to the Pennines, who live in Manchester and Leeds and places like that. They go up to the Pennines. That's ideally you need to go somewhere like that, but it's not essential. Crafty Nihilist. It's in Salisbury Cathedral. Thanks. David Schultz, the movie The Mist reminds me of what they're doing now with the CERN. Yes, I made that point in my CERN video. If you remember, I did a special video about CERN. Yeah, splendid. The Half-Life thing is a computer game. I know. I'm not a gamer, so I'm hoping they'll make it into a movie, like they did the Resident Evil films. Nihilist says, if you're coming to the countryside with binoculars, six-pack, take plenty of KY too. Oh my God, I don't want to even ask. Lovecraft meets particle accelerators. Yeah. Lovecraft or Tesla. There's another game. Oh, it's with a name. Another game with that name. Crafty reading Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah, that I do like that. I think it's very funny. Yeah. Oh, I've read the trilogy of 5 books. Yeah. You need a lot of different perspectives and data. Sometimes things overlap. I saw a Soup's Mexican scientist talking about his spooky UFO encounters. Right. On Jeff Mishlub's Thinking Aloud. It's normally about spirituality, not so much about UFOs, but he has all kinds of subjects. I'll check that out. Charles Scott says he told Hall that he was told to be economical with 9/11 Truth if he wanted the truth embargo lifted. Yeah. Which, Charles, I think that's I think that Steve has made a strategic withdrawal, and I think that's a mistake. I don't believe that he's disinformation agent. The very fact he said that indicates that he is sincere. But with some people, that's not good enough. Some people are unforgiving and uncompromising to the point where I think they themselves make a mistake by taking that attitude. I'm willing to disagree with Steve and say I disagree with him in the hope that anyone watching will understand the mistake that Steve has made. But I'm not going to start, stamping my feet and calling someone disinfo, as I know that certain people have done when it came to that particular issue. Steve071 says, good night. Night, Steve. Night. Well, it's 9:15 now. Are we going to break the 3-hour barrier? I don't want to do that tonight, actually. Let's see, where are we now? E-Man says, I've got some DMT from years ago. It's gone dusty and it's oxidized. I'd look at, before you start experimenting with that stuff, just look into it, just be careful, that sort of thing. Derek says, anyone who doesn't like David Williams is homophobic. Not necessarily. I mean, you just don't. It's easy to call people racist, sexist, misogynist, and all kinds of things like that. Yeah. Hugo says, I have dozens of spiders in my house. All are welcome and all are called Eric. But if they're all called Eric, how do they tell each other apart? I mean, how do they... It's like the Smurfs. How do you tell each other apart? Crafty says, Anunnaki mentioned an Epic of Gilgamesh over 4,000 years ago. Yeah. That's a very interesting story, isn't it? They talk about zombies as well. It's a very interesting story. One of the oldest stories ever written. Email says, I've always thought it's unlucky to kill spiders. I don't know why. Well, I think that superstition may have come from the fact that spiders actually are quite good at... they're quite useful to have in your home. I mean, obviously they produce cobwebs, but you can... They get rid of flies and things like that. It's like cats, cats. There's a lot of superstitions associated with cats, and maybe this is to do with the fact that they are... When we started with agriculture thousands of years ago, we started domesticating cats to get rid of all the little mice and rats and things that would eat the food we had to store. Derek says, I like Cary Grant movies. That doesn't mean I'm homophobic. Well, he's Cary Grant. Was he gay? I don't know. Cary Grant. I know he's a good actor. He came from Bristol and had a kind of like West Country English accent. He tried to cover up, but he was a good actor. He really was. Jay said, "Oh, it's a fair-sized spider too. Looks like it's running behind Bungle." Oh my God! I'll have to get my broom out later, Jay. David Schultz. I was a member of the ASPR here in the States. Oh, right. One day I was checking out the book in the library. One by Dr. J. Ira Stevenson. He gave me his card. Oh, right. I've never heard of that one, but I'm glad you're into the ASPR and stuff like that. Fascinating things. Hugo says they're all called Eric. It's from a Monty Python sketch. Oh, I've not seen that one. Here we go. We were having a joke the other day about the mutilated knight in in the Holy Grail. Come on, fight me. Eric and the half of... I've not seen that one, no. Email says, I took DMT years ago. Not really experimenting, just nervous to take it again. Yeah. Well, was it Terence McKenna says, if you want to take it again, then it didn't do its job properly. Jay says, good luck. Maybe he or she just wants a cuddle. I don't want to cuddle with a giant spider. Jay says DMT is like going to school. I've had many profound experiences. Yeah. Derek says, yeah. All right, guys, we've come to the end of the comments. Do you mind if we should we call it a night now? I've got more coming up, plenty more, including a video that's I think you'll find quite interesting, which I've got planned, which may take me a while to make because it's going to be long, but I'll try to get it done by the weekend. So don't worry, if you don't hear anything more from me until Saturday and Sunday, don't worry. And I've got also comments reply coming up probably just after that, because it's a month. It's gone past since the last one. Blimey. But night, Crafty. You're welcome, Jay. Thank you very much, Jay, for listening and watching. Thank you very much, all of you. Much appreciated. It's been a good live stream. And I think probably we put the Magé incident to bed now. Unless something really, really big comes up, I think we can close this case and say that interesting lights in the sky on the Monday night. But apart from that, nothing much happened. Night, Alien Biker. Night. I will, Jay. I'll check out those links. All right. I may not get to them this evening, but I will get to them. Night, Hugo Rune. I will enjoy the video. Right. Okay. I will. Dr. Jackie F. John. Do Black Lives really matter? Of course they do. Yeah. All lives matter. Racist. Yeah. I'll be covering that in my next video. But night, Zythan Chops. Night, David Keith. Email, do lives have a colour? Well, of course not. No, because not. Professor Robert Jacobs, Derek. Yeah, great guy. Night, all of you. I hope you're okay. I hope you're all having fun. It's great that you were here. It's great that we've had fun. Dr. Jackie, sorry you joined us at the end, but I'll be back soon. Lives matter. Yes, Hugo. Yeah. Night, Denise. Take care. Night, E-Man. All the best to you all. I'll see you soon. Okay. Night, Hugo. All right. The next video, the next video might possibly be removed from YouTube. If it is, it will be on BitChute. Okay. Anything that YouTube don't like to the point where they get rid of it, I'll put it on BitChute. It'll still be on BitChute. If you haven't subbed to me on BitChute, please go over there and do so, because that is the that is the lifeboat to the YouTube's Titanic. It really is. Good night, Hugo. And God bless is like Walton's, isn't it? You know, good night, Mom. Good night, Granddad. Yeah. See ya.